issue I wanted. There we go. The discussion tonight is on the front end is about something that is marinating in Springfield as we speak. It's called House Bill 793, and it is entitled Dignity and Pay Act. Now, the backdrop to this is not new. They've been talking, legislators in Springfield, different advocacy groups across the state, and this has been an issue that's been a long time in play. There's approximately a dozen states right now that have eliminated what was baked into federal law back in 1935. That was the Minimum Wage Act, and there was a carve out in that act that has allowed us over the last 51 years at Community Link to be able to offer our sub-minimum wage workshop production paychecks to our folks. Just a little bit of information, and you'll see this as I get into this of the bill. This bill, it puts a lot of information in it that isn't, it's not correlated with anything. I'm used to reading a book and being able to say where they got this information. A lot of the information in the bill that's, you take for granted they said that the average amount of paychecks across the country for people in sub-minimum wage is $3 an hour. Now, I don't know if we're splitting hairs here, but we did an analysis on the last, probably since January 1st, 2023, of collectively all of our folks that receive paychecks in a 2-week pay period. We averaged that out, and it came to over $5 an hour that they're earning collectively. Now, there's some that are pushing minimum wage already just based on their production work, and there's others that are probably below that, but $5 an hour is our average, which is already skewed from what they were quoting in the bill. The Dignity of Pay Act and the backdrop to it, as I alluded to earlier, is a lot of it is predicated upon a conceptualization that I think we can all agree with, that we would love to see a world where there isn't sub-minimum wage. I think all of us can agree that everybody is paid for their value on the same level, and we get that. Unfortunately, for that to occur, and the reason why Community Link, especially in the day services production area, sub-minimum wage work that we've been doing, is because the system didn't have a way to be able to provide jobs in an equitable manner where everybody is paid the same. Because we know that we're a nation built on capitalism and a lot of different variables there. We have a lot of very progressive businesses that have big hearts and are able to, when they can, be able to support that. But in a given time, we have over 200 individuals in our program, and not all of them not only might possibly be able to, even with the greatest supports, have a job out there due to either not just developmental disability, but their physical, behavioral, a lot of elements there that they're challenged with. Some of them don't want anything outside of here. They want to come work with their friends, receive a paycheck like they've been doing. Some people we have that have been here a long time, and now the system's saying, we're going to change this for you and you're going to enjoy it. Yeah. And I don't know that all of them will. So that's what a lot of this is. We've heard whispers over the greater part of the last 6 weeks that finally there was going to be a bill introduced, and we were looking, like, okay, so now we can find out what is the cards on the table, what is the timelines they're looking at, what are they advocating for. So we've been waiting for this. Our trade association, Illinois Association of Rehab Facilities up in Springfield, 95% of the time we're very aligned with them on a lot of issues that have really supported the people that we support and agree with them. They were obviously within a trade association, not everybody's going to have unilateral agreement on all issues being presented. In this case, Community Link, for the most part, I think there might be a few in our family. It's a big tent. We always have different opinions, but overall, our position is that the legislation proposed right now does not give us any surety that people that want paid work will be able to have that availability post elimination of sub-minimum wage wages. I've seen nothing in there. Now, our trade association, and one of them, I will tell you that in the service of battle, many trees were killed tonight. So please, if you don't have God rest their souls, there's a lot of paper over there, and we will make sure all handouts of our folks on Zoom will have that availability. We'll make sure we have a process where we're getting emails, and we will push this out to you so you will have the same thing. But it's really about a lot of things in there. As I think for those of you that aren't familiar with Illinois politics, a lot of times they shoot first and aim later. And I think that is the epitome of what this bill is. they are very clear on an end date, June 30th, 2027, where organizations like Community Link will no longer be able to offer any sub-minimum wage pay. And that's eliminated if this bill passes. They being our trade association, the governor's office, a lot of different entities that are in favor of this will tell you that this is the first step needed to reboot the system, and that everything will follow in from there. They have various timelines in there of different things. One of them is that they have a council that they're going to empower to be able to start taking statistics together in 2025 for a, get this phrase, multi-year phase out of 14C. 2025 to 2027, I don't identify that as multi-year. I think it's a couple years, and for some reason, Illinois has a history of not following timelines. So more than likely, this council will be in full effect in 2028, 1 year after this program has already been abolished, and then they're going to start keeping statistics on how everybody's doing in it. And you know, with 12 other states, you would think that they would have already had their ducks in a row to tell us how some other states are doing with this, but I think we all know that answer. Collectively, it's probably benefited a few individuals, but holistically, it's not benefited, especially a lot of the majority of people that we support here. I don't want to focus too much on the process, but I just a short preview of how the sausage is made in this case. And I told you about whispers of a bill that was supposed to come out. My first indication that this bill was live was on Thursday morning of last week, when I had about a 3-hour notice that there was a labor committee hearing to talk about this bill. Not traditional ways bills move. There's much notice, there's discussions, there's a lot of other things, but there was a bill pushed out that came out sometime Wednesday. And also Thursday morning at 6, I'm reading my morning emails, get up, and I have people like, oh, they're having this thing at 9 o'clock, 9:30. I'll give it, they had 3.5 hours notice, not 3. And so the labor committee ultimately had discussions on this nature of the ending of this bill and voted out of committee 18-10 vote to push it to the full floor. Now, the House of Representatives in Illinois has different things that they're normally most traditional legislation has. One of them is called a roll call. And having conversations with a couple of state reps that are on our side in this battle. Katie Stewart is one. She represents, and Teresa Morrison, one of our board members who is on the Zoom call right now, has been very instrumental in pushing this ball forward in conversations with legislators. I know there's other people in this room as well, but I can say that Katie Stewart is somebody that has become a champion for us and is essentially leaning on Community Link and other organizations like us to say, how do you want me to vote on this? Because it seems like you guys know what you're saying. I'm not trusting that all of my coworkers at the state level have that same understanding. Another champion who's been a champion a long time for developmental disabilities and right here in this district is Charlie Meyer. And Charlie, for those of you, I wish I had an opportunity tonight. It's about 13 minutes, but if you have an opportunity to check on Facebook and look up Charlie Meyer, I think there's it would be, the date was Friday, May 19th. But Charlie gave a very late night impassioned plea that this is the wrong time. He said several times over, as I will say, that conceptually I'm in favor of eliminating some minimum wage at some point, but the system has to be fixed first. You can't shoot first and then aim later. And there's too much at stake here. There's too many people that depend on this. My position is that they're calling this Dignity of Pay Act, and they're essentially telling our people that your dignity is down because you're not receiving enough in the paycheck. So we're going to take your job away to fix that. That's how we're going to fix this. And I think all of us would agree that there should be a Dignity and a Job Act before we look at pay. Because doesn't pay follow a job? What's the point? The big selling point in this bill that I keep hearing over and over and over, and I'm 1,000% in favor of this, but I don't think it belongs in this bill, is something called the personal needs allowance. For those of you that aren't aware, people that receive Social Security and our SILAs and everything, all of our SILA participants, they're allowed to keep $60 a month for spending money to get haircuts, buy some sodas, whatever they do and what. And this is all guaranteed outside of the 14C work that they make or whatever they do. We fought for years. This is where I'm really, really angry. You're hearing angry down here. I don't know what that looks like all the time, but I'm angry because we fought for years to get this moved from $50, where it was since the beginning of time, to $60. And it took couple of years to get Illinois to pass this from 50 to 60. Now, they're willing to move this from 60 to 100 like that, and said it's negligible on the budget. So don't worry about it. It's fine. So they're taking it like a 400% increase and saying it's not a problem. Well, we had to fight for a 10% increase for years. So that is a side story, disappointment. But at the end of the day, what irritates me the most is the dark of night this bill moved on. There was no roll call. They struggled to get their ducks in a row on Friday, according to some insiders, and I've mentioned a couple of their names already. It was a struggle that suddenly, well, it's Friday, so some people hit the, do they have time clocks up there? I don't know, but they left. And so suddenly they're like, oh, wait, we wanted to do this vote, and suddenly we lost a lot of people because they're out of here. Let's do it now. So they did it. They needed 60 votes to get this passed, to move it from the House to the Senate. And it came down to one vote. They had 59. Charlie was in the camp. He was on the side against it. Katie Stewart reached out to Teresa Ward and said, hey, they're throwing some stuff at me here. What do you think about this? Teresa spoke up. Katie voted no as a Democrat. And now this isn't about politics. I'm not getting the Democrats and Republicans on this issue, because a lot of our issues, we go with what benefits our participants. And in this case, it is heavy Democratic bill in this case. But Katie is a Democrat in a very split district. And Profile and Courage, she voted against it. So it failed that night. So now they haven't been in session since. Tomorrow is their first day back. And tomorrow, there's plans afoot because the governor is putting muscle. I don't know what that means, big guy. Put some muscle behind this bill, which means he's calling legislators. Katie's gotten 4 calls from the governor's office today alone saying, yes, pass this, do this. She's staying the course. So where does that leave us? What are our options? How do we do this? So I gave you in those pile of trees that you have, the big bill itself. You have that, read through it at your leisure. I'm fair and balanced. I think there's news stations like that. I'm fair and balanced. So I did present what IR gave to me as rebuttal points for why this is a good deal. So it's a 1-page. It has the IR symbol. It's a little green symbol on the left-hand corner, the right-hand corner. And that is their rebuttal to say essentially this bill smells of roses and it'll be fine. I dispute those points. Unfortunately, with the small window of time I've had to drink all this in and to prepare for tonight, I wasn't able to do a side-by-side of my points. Trust me, not all that stuff. Don't trust it. There's nothing in there guaranteed. They can talk all day about grants they're going to give us in the future, but they have to go through appropriations and get money to give us those grants. So they can promise that now, but they take the bill away, they take supplemental wage away, and then we're begging on our knees 2 years from now to be able to get funding that they promised us in this bill that they have no mechanisms to do it. And it's not all about funding. There's also things in there that doesn't recognize. I am not a sectionalist. I don't believe in the bashing of, well, Chicago, they get all the money. I'm not somebody that loses people or whatever. It costs a lot of money to be in Southern Illinois, and there's a lot of state funds do come down here. It supports our roads. We have longer routes to go, and there's a lot of different variables that I think over the years, we can all disagree on that, but I think statistics show that funding has overall been pretty equitable among the collar counties of Chicago itself. And out there. In that situation, though, I make a big exception because they are not recognizing the uniqueness of Southern Illinois, of rural. There is nothing in here about transportation costs, how much it's going to take. There's nothing in here about the opportunities here. We have some big champions in our community. I want to recognize somebody like Ron Puppy that has a business that is very progressive in looking at opportunities for people to hire in a store. There's many like that out there, but it isn't built in a vacuum. There's work to be done. We're coming right off of COVID. I'm not using COVID excuses, but this system was moving in the right direction and then suddenly took a really rough turn that we're still recovering from. To pass this bill now is ridiculous when we have to reboot and start over with those relationships and those things. And even those at the greatest success will not meet the needs of everybody that is here every day. The biggest kicker to me, and I'm sharing with this, is we recently had an individual that came back that had a long absence from COVID. And when he came back, had a lot of physical challenges that kept him, because of the being able to facilitate him to be here to do paid work. We had him at West Building, where we don't have that. We have the right facilities for him, but we didn't have him paid work. And the state has rules that you can't move your work from one place to another unless it's certified. We didn't have that building certified. He was upset, and so his ISC actually filed a complaint with the Equip for Equality, who has got their fingerprints all over this. And I'm not bashing Equip for Equality. They have moved the system. They've changed a lot of things. They've done dynamic things. But on this case, I'm on the opposite side of them. So they're pushing this bill among other groups. Equip for Equality, a complaint was filed, so it came at us to say, you need to get this man that sub-minimum wage work, even though they're trying to eliminate it altogether. Think about that for a minute. Frustration. So that being said, we made it work. We moved Josh to our metro location, which is also, he was equidistant from between Breeze and our Fairview Heights location. So we're able to meet his needs. We moved on. He's happy doing paid work now. Equip for Equality came in and saved the day, only to possibly take this away from him. So what are they going to advocate for him then? And what's that going to look like? Because we've taken this away. Just one example that I think we all need to drink in. There's 1,000 of them out there, not just here, all across Southern Illinois. And even probably there's some organizations up north too that are spread out and opportunities and everything. So with that all being said, what can we do about it at this point? I will be honest with you, with a short window, we're at the mercy of a lot of levers up there. Apparently, if they follow the rules, which they can change, if they follow the rules, and this passes tomorrow, which is possible, then it's supposed to be 2 separate legislative days that the Senate has to have 2 separate readings on. They can't do it all on the same day. So they're allegedly supposed to, and amongst all this, and I'm not saying that I'm glad that they're talking about developmental disability in Springfield, and it's a hot topic. I just wish it wasn't on this side of it, taking something away from that's work. That being said, in Springfield, so let's assume it passes tomorrow, and I've got some activities here that we can do to possibly at least make them feel better or bad about their decision if they do that. But if it passes tomorrow, then it's supposed to move to the Senate on Thursday for the first reading. And then the next legislative day, they have a second reading and they can vote on it and pass it. So it could happen. They got this thing called a budget that they're still fighting about and still trying to figure out. And that's a separate talking item I have about how that impacts us, because we have a very bold initiative on a $4 an hour increase. And I'll talk about that in a little bit, that we more than likely won't get the $4 an hour, but all signs point to at least $2 an hour. And anything short of that is them letting us down again. But that's another story. That's baked into the budget process right now. So if it passes tomorrow, it goes to the Senate on Thursday, and they finish the budget, I'm not smart enough to know what happens next, because I find it hard to believe that they would extend session if they get this budget done. They want to walk out of there when they're done with budget. They want to get into their Memorial Day weekend and holiday. If the budget's delayed and goes into the Memorial Day weekend and the session extends, then this could still happen right there where the Senate has their 2 days. So our advocacy efforts, should we do them, would pivot to the Senate and try to fight the fight there. And if not, I'll talk about that later on, what's next if this does pass. So that's where it's at. So in your handouts, for the ask that I have tonight, let me go over here, grab it, I don't have it in front of me. What I provided you, and I appreciate Katie Stewart, the representative I talked about, working with Teresa Morrison, got me a list of, and the only thing I'm not sure on, I don't know if this is an exhaustive list of just every representative, because I know Charlie Meyer's name's on here. You don't have to email him about this because he's with us. He's one name I saw on here, but I'm not sure. I know a lot of the names I see are people that voted for this already that want this to pass. A lot of these are representatives from up in Chicago that were not in their district. So we are basically just throwing stuff to the wall, hoping that they read our email and they hear our voice. That's all we have. Because
If
most of,
this is alphabetical, Katie Stewart's not on here.
no, she's not, and I don't think she would put her own name on because she's for this, so, and it kind of drops off at the S's as well, so don't worry about Katie Stewart, she's with us.
Okay.
And apparently we don't need to worry about the Republicans either, because none of them.
No, I think they're pretty much united on this, and yes, so that's
Yeah.
true, and I unfortunately don't have R's or B's
Well,
by
yeah.
this, so we're.
But you can go on their legislative side, but.
I think it's essentially whatever, but what I provided here is, this is a list of emails, because we've heard that phones are, especially on the last minute deadline, because they're probably gonna be on the floor tomorrow, they may not even get the email, but it's more effective than phone calls at this point, because they'll just take messages, or they may get to it, but getting them into their phones, or they might have their phone while they're in legislative, they're not gonna more likely talk to their assistant. What I provided, and feel free to tinker it, make it personal as you will, is just something that I put together that is what should be in the email. It's a sample list. It has a subject line, please vote, and bold it, make it big. Please vote no on House Bill 793, Dignity and Pay Act. That catches their attention. They know your position right away, and then they have plenty of it. Is this too much? Probably, but I did my best. Brevity isn't my friend all the time. So I did my best to get in there to talk about what that is. It just has in there saying who you are, who you're representing, whether your son, daughter, nephew, niece, brother, sister, whoever that is, friend. And, you know, if they were born with an intellectual developmental disability and they come to Community Link, a little description about us. And then it gets into the nature of, you know, while I fully support the eventual elimination of some minimum wages, and if you don't agree with that, you can take that sentence out. But it just talks about this legislation does not have timelines, strategies, or viable funding to address the system, and et cetera, et cetera. I bolded some things that I think is very important. They're removing work opportunities from individuals with developmental disabilities. There's no question about it. They're taking work away from people under the guise of dignity and pay. So basically your choice is, we don't think you're getting paid fair enough, so we're taking your job away. That's the solution. So my thing is if we can fight this fight and win somehow, either running out the clock where it never gets to the Senate, even though we're going to control that, or if it passes, that we at least have some kind of voice between now and the next time they're in session to better drive the system. So we'll have time. I'm just looking for time here. I finish it with voting no on this and why, and then thanking them. You gotta be respectful. That's what we do. And so we'll just say thank you for, there's a lot of names on here. You can do a mass email, you can do it individually, you can just pick a couple here and there. I think anything we can do at this point, I know we're under it, but it almost has to be done tomorrow for this. Now, if tomorrow passes, I will send out something to you that will be focused on the Senate side, which fortunately is less people. But that being said, that's the next pivot is if it does pass the House, it goes to the Senate. Threw a lot at you, like machine gun pace, but open for questions on this particular topic. Anything? Yes.
Okay, I just want to see if I understand. I know they were wanting to kind of do away with the workshops and get people out in the community, which is very hard here. But how does that time, so if they raise the minimum wage, then like people like Eaton or you'll be like, that will go away? Or you just can't have the workshops at all, but they're gonna raise the minimum wage and expect these people to work out in the community?
So this
Is
was
that
a
how
key-
I'm understanding it?
I was touching. So one of the components that Josh Evans from IARP was very proud to say is he is not advocating, this bill is not trying to shut down sheltered workshop. They're not trying to shut it down. They're just taking the sub minimum wage away. So to your answer is, I would have to either, right now, every 2 weeks, we have a participant payroll from money generated from Beeline that is to the tune of about $20,000 that we bring back to all 133 people or whoever is doing in that 2 week period. They get money, like I indicated earlier, $5 an hour is the average. Some get more, some get less, but it's $20,000. That's at $5 an hour. If this passes, we can continue to do what we're doing here. We can, but we have to pay everybody $15 an hour. So do that math on 20,000 to what that number is, 56,000. So we would have to come up with the difference of, I might have to take my shoes off here, about $35,000 every 2 weeks. And we have to get that from Eaton, which will say, no, thank you. I mean, maybe I'm jumping the cart for the horse, but Eaton will not give
I was
us.
just gonna say, because you've got workers here that probably do better work than the Eaton ones
And
do.
they've indicated as much.
Yes, and so, and now you're saying that they would probably jump ship and then they'd have to pay people benefits, sick leave and all that, and that would be cheaper than paying these people minimum wage.
I think right now it's based on, because of so many of these guys can only do a couple hours a week and things like that, that, you know, if Eaton gets that involved at level, I mean, we could potentially, and these are all parts that I want to focus on the battle right now, but to your point, we have plans if this doesn't go. And the only trouble I'm having is I'm not having a plan for the people that just want to work a couple, you know, just want to have some opportunities for it. There's not that. We could still partner with Beeline and have less people doing the same amount, so there could be opportunities there. But we would have to look at a lot of variables there on what that all looks like. Because on top of all this, there is something else called the home and community-based settings rule that says you have to have people out of here more often than not. Still do it. We haven't had our first survey under this new system yet, so we're gonna really see what they look like. I think if they walk in here knowing that this sub-minimum wage has an end date, they're really not gonna look at this too much. But that is another hill that we have to climb, that even if we're able to pay people $50 an hour, the magic fairy dust comes in and sprinkles it where we find a way to be able to support that system where everybody gets $15 an hour, no matter what, how many hours they work, what they do, et cetera, et cetera. That's still another hill to climb on the home and community-based side. But great question, and yes, I know that there's a lot of different ways we can explore relationships with Beeline post this passes, but it doesn't look good for a lot of people. Any other questions? Yes.
Are you thinking about sending this template of letter out in an email?
Yes, I'm going to hit everybody tomorrow. You get the sneak preview tonight, and everybody on Zoom will get that. And I apologize, Kathy, let me know if they raise their hands or have any questions on there that I need to address. But yeah, we're going to push this out tomorrow. Like I said, it's a little bit of an uphill battle because I think they're going to tackle this tomorrow. They tried to do it under the darkness of the night last Friday night without a roll call, so I think they're going to get more empowered to get this done tomorrow. They're cracking skulls right now on the phones, trying to make sure that they have this full fast this time. That's what they're doing. So all we can do is fight the good fight and follow. This is not for us. Any other questions? Yes.
Are you gonna put the naughty list on this email too?
If I can find it, I don't know what, that's gonna take a little work. I'm lucky to get this out in time and just have a full mailing list. So I will try to find the naughty list of who we really need to reach out to.
Oh, Teresa Ma.
Teresa Ma is the main one. Yeah. Thank you. Circle her name because she's the chairman of this.
Rob Gable, she hates us.
Yeah, but Teresa, M-A-H, Teresa Ma is definitely.
I do have a funny story to tell. One of my friends, who's been in politics her whole life, she called Teresa Miles. She talked to her administrative assistant. By the time she got done, he said, well, I just think your idea is wonderful. They should carve out part of this for those with development. He goes, I'm gonna tell Teresa that. And I thought, well, fat chance on that because, you know.
He's unemployed.
I bet you. I thought of that. Oh, Lindsay LaPointe.
Yeah, Lindsay's one that's been a big champion for us in a lot of ways.
She's done a lot of good things.
But not on the.
John?
So-
John,
Yes, Teresa.
I would just like to say that I made phone calls yesterday. And if I concentrated on the downstate, the more rural folks, I called Charlie Meyer and thanked him. You know, I'm in contact with Katie Stewart and I thanked her. The people that I got in touch with that might understand us better is Jay Hoffman, who didn't even know what was going on. Christopher Belt, he's out of Caseyville area and maybe East St. Louis. Erica Harris, Amy Ellick, Doris Turner, who's supposed to be somebody that could be helpful to us, and Jason Plummer. I didn't talk to, other than Katie and Charlie, I did not talk to any of these other people in person. But the only thing I'll disagree with John is during this time, when it's the most hectic, whether it's an email or a call, their people will tell the legislature. So if you call Jason Plummer, that person on that phone will make sure that Jason gets your message.
And I think
Almost immediately. almost, and because I called Harris, Harris called JB and talked to his people and said, well, this person disagrees. Those people called me back, which was a little stunning to me. So everything's effective and they will hear what you have to say. I just like to talk, so I called them. But, you know, we're going to have a hard time holding Chicago folks at bay. I don't think they understand our rural situation. And I think Charlie Meyer does, and he wants some time so we can come up with a plan that would suit it's not a one size fits all situation. Like for my son, I consider my son low functioning. He needs something else, then that should be provided. And this bill doesn't do that. It's all or nothing. But they will be responsive to you. So I don't want anybody to feel, well, it is kind of overwhelming, but not discouraged, because I was amazed how many questions I got asked, and that the legislator who didn't even represent me got the message.
Great point. That's what this list is. We don't have, there aren't our representatives, but we still live in the state of legislation they're trying to enforce across the state that affects us. So we have every right to speak up there. Any other questions? Yes,
You said 13 other states have passed some form of legislation.
that was the numbers of
Do
it.
you have one that we could kind of say that you guys really need to look at this one as a way to do this?
Oh, no, I know which ones it won't work.
This is kind of being driven by the federal
Yeah,
government.
and I think, Gary, to your point, I think it's something that, that's why I think this is being ramrodded without, it's the shoot first, aim later. If we had that time between now and October to get that information together, I mean, we can do that, but I think it's gonna be difficult to, I think a lot of these states don't have that, they're not tracking
They
that.
don't have
And that's what they're proud of in this bill. They're gonna find a system to track how everybody got left behind. So that's what they want to do. That's Charlie.
If you don't mind me just adding one thing, what Teresa did is probably the best grassroots level that everybody in this room can do. You pick out 4 or 5 legislators here in Southern Illinois, and in this case, Democrats, which are mostly east side and that type of thing. But to call their offices and tell them that this thing needs to be thought through a whole lot more. They need to contact, they're going on what certain group has told them this is the way to go ahead and do it. And unless they get enough people to really call them up and say, we've got real reservations on this.
This is very true what you're saying.
There's power in you.
Yeah.
calling. And again, I would start off with Jay Hoffman, put him on every list in this, because he's part of the leadership.
It's
And
number 3.
I'm sure that he's, there's a lot about this that he doesn't know. And he needs to hear, especially since he has facility in his district. I assume there's in his.
They've made a lot of changes. It's right there. If not, he has at one point, so I don't know.
But
I can give the phone numbers to John. I have of the people that I called yesterday. And, you may even want, you may just want to call Katie and Charlie to say, hold that line. I'm with you. So I have their district phone numbers and I have their state phone numbers. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I got Ma's phone number too. The rep that Teresa Mao, that is the one that brought this bill on.
And hopefully everybody signed in. We don't normally keep emails on here. Well, anyway, I'll be sending out to everybody, so you'll be on the list. Lori's got a mailing list, so I'll get that from you, Teresa, and we'll get those.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions on this?
So if they ask, what would you like to see? Have you or the organization? But anyway, do they give them another proposal like a carve out? I think Rita might have touched on this. Because I know this past experience in the library world, there were times they passed legislation, but if you had 50 or less employees, it didn't pertain to you. And that was great, because a lot of it didn't pertain to me, I was too small. And so if there's a legislature on this call, that might be a compromise where, you know, areas of this less population are business, that kind of thing. You know, I can see in the Metro East finding these jobs, but in these rural communities, it's gonna be very difficult.
I can take specifically to community link, 3 separate carve outs that I think would be salient to us. One would be just the unfairness of somebody that didn't have the school system that is there today with all the technologies and everything. People with ED coming out of their high school years and the availabilities of it compared to somebody that came into a system that's been here since maybe 1995. And it's spent there, they might be 50, 55 years old, and they just want to work till 65, till 68, whatever that is, and they want to finish it out. There should be maybe one carve out could be that anybody born before this date, you know, has to transition and everybody else gets to finish it out. What's the harm? Why
How
can't
about
we continue
grandfather
to do
did?
that?
If
Grandfather,
they
yes.
could come up with a carve out, I'd love to be able to send that to
Yeah.
legislatures too, saying, how about this?
Right.
How about
Another
this?
carve out could be, just like you mentioned, our rural location, like looking at, maybe we need a longer plan than others. 2027 works for Chicago, make ours 2032. And then we have a better time to build the system, you know, so there's a carve out there.
We need money. We need
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, and the biggest carve out is just the.
Money.
IDD. This system is all based on anybody with a disability. And they're trying to change the entire thing, but my argument is that someone, and I'm not speaking for people's experiences, I can't do that, I can't be there. But I do know that there is systems based that helps people, we support them as well. We just had a gentleman that we supported getting a job that had a driver's license. He's got a disability, he fits in the same funding bucket as everybody here. But yet his opportunities are a lot greater already in the current system. He doesn't have to worry about sub-minimum wage, because he's out there living his life and doing it. Not all my folks here are able to do that, so that could be a carve out. So there's a lot of different areas.
I just want to make sure that carve outs are being addressed too, because I think.
It's
that
not
might
right
be a way
now,
to
it's
Compromise.
we're just trying to stop
Yeah,
this,
okay.
this hurricane from happening.
John,
Yeah, Teresa.
I was, money is a big thing here, right? And I
Oh,
was
absolutely.
advised,
It is.
I was advised by Katie during a text today. She said, if the people that I'm calling mention the grant fund, which is how this is supposed to be funded, she said, your response is that there is no guarantee of how much will be in that fund to fund this bill, and no way to know what agencies will get access to them. So we may get some money, no money, I don't know. It doesn't say if there were actually money there, that there isn't at this time, but if there was money there, is there a formula to decide, okay, community league gets this much, a place in Chicago gets this much? There's nothing to cover it, nothing.
No, and I think that's just another example of that's not in this bill. I mean, I've fallen off the turnip truck too many times and got a concussion from all the times I was promised funds, but they said, we'll get it to you later. So I want more surety on that. It's not there.
And
Talk
John,
about
that's
it.
something that, whatever you send out tomorrow to everybody, needs to be stressed. This is the point that needs to be made as to why we're against this bill at this time.
Yes.
We're not against the idea of it happening, but there's too many things that haven't been decided here. We don't know what's gonna happen.
And I did my best to touch that in this template,
But
Charlie.
what Teresa said, but, again, they've got 1,000 or 100 different things going on up there. This is just one thing. And we keep it simple, we keep it, as you said earlier, keep it simple, give them one or two things. And this is why there needs to be more discussion on this bill before it becomes passed.
And to me, the biggest one is that they're taking jobs away from them. They're taking jobs away from people without something to replace it.
And the only people that testified for this, they're supposed to be disabled or self-advocates, who are very high functioning, they were able to get a job and, they wanted to be paid, but they didn't come and talk to my brother or her, they didn't talk to any of them, and, they only talked to very high functioning people, and they thought, oh my God, these people should be paid. Well, that's terrible. They're discriminating against all these people, that are.
For the past 4 years, Charlie Meyer has been trying to get this Teresa Mao, who is the lead of this bill, to come down to Community Link, to come to rural Illinois, and she hasn't done it. And as John suggested, if you look on his Facebook page, he's got a video of last Friday night. And he just flat says in the very beginning, I have invited you to come down to my rural area to see how we are, to see how we can make us fit this bill, and you haven't come. And she did not respond to that. I mean, what's she gonna say?
She tried a few times, we got lost and ended up in Rockford. So. She almost made it.
I will say the former director of DHS, Allison Stark, when she came to Murray and then went to show, her comment to us was, I am so shocked. It's such a difference between you don't have any taxis. You don't have a metro system. You don't have buses. And we're like, well, no. She said, well, how do you get places? And I'm like, oh my God. And she had no clue. She had never been further than, I believe she had been to Springfield.
We do have stoplights.
We do have stuff.
I've never
Newfangled ideas.
It's so green. So, I mean, they have no clue. And yeah, they need to come see it. So, you know.
Well, we'll do our best to push this out tomorrow across the board, tailor the message a little bit more. But at least on this, please, do your best to send some emails out and despite and delay. And then this will, even if it doesn't pass now, we'll probably be facing this October, but at least we have some months to tailor that message, do some work, get some people out here. Maybe we'll send an Uber up to Teresa to get her down here, one of our Ubers.
We have offered to pay for her to come. We've offered to send her on the train. We've offered to send her money to pay to come, but it's just too far away.
Anything on that? Any questions from everybody? All right, just to keep it moving along. On there, just a quick update on it. I alluded to it earlier, the $4 an hour wage increase. So the backdrop to this is why $4 an hour? Was that just an arbitrary number? We can't put a price on our frontline staff, but this price is derived from, once again, a state study that was contracted out, that came back. It's called the Guidehouse Study. And the components of it was to look at the waiver system and understand how to make it successful in the home and community-based rule setting change era. And they had 10 different items that they listed. I've given this out of previous things. I can send that to you again. But one of the ones is they recognize we have to pay our staff more. So they had a track to get them there. And in Illinois, especially considering that minimum wage is on a track to reach $15 an hour, January 1st, 2025. And they identified that to attract people to this field, worthy people that can do this job that is built like superheroes, that take this job home with them every day, that it's going to take 150% above whatever that is to get there. And right now, we're at $17 an hour, and we need to be at $21 an hour to be able to hit that mark on January 1st, 2025. Now, I will say, part of it's at gunpoint from the Guidehouse Study and other reasons, but they have been putting money into the system to get raises up, to get wages up. But as identified in this Guidehouse Study, it's not enough. It's still not enough. So the $4 an hour is the go big or go home. We have 2 more years, this legislative session and next year's budget, to get to that mark. And so we tried to bite the whole apple off this year to finish it. Obviously, a lot of other things, state budget challenges. Right now, if we get to $2 an hour or more, we see that as a win, as long as they carry the water next year to get us the other $2. I don't anticipate we're going to get 4, but like I said, the marker is 2 to 3. If it's below 2, they're letting us down again. That's what I'm saying. Even though $1.50 is a very generous raise in any other thing, where we're at this moment in time and what their own contracted study, unbiased study resulted in, said that this is where they need to be. And if they can't meet that, then I'm back to the first bill. Really? You're asking us this when you're not even funding the things that you're already saying you're going to do? It's just another example.
Will they actually give that to the frontline workers, not to administrative staff? I mean, does it have to go to the DSPs? Because that's been a problem in the past.
No, it's never been a problem at community.
No, not community link, other agencies.
Yeah, no, it's very built in. Well, we haven't seen the language yet, but the language they've had before, especially the last few years, they recognize that. There's been a lot of union pushback on that. But essentially, they have carved out a bucket where that money is tied to those positions. And it's not just DSPs, it's Qs, it's accumulators, it's this. Self and everything, that's a different bucket that we look at on how to raise that, but that's separate. So on all the front line of what that definition is, even our our nurses, those are frontline staff, so, because they're working directly with the participants. So that's where that's at. We're hoping now when the budget comes out, and we can break it down the weeds, so we see that direct line, that it's $2 an hour or more. Hoping closer to 3, because then we won't have to fight as hard next year. But that being said, it is what it is. So there's that. And any questions on that? With that, I'm going to turn it over to Katie Cool, who's going to talk a little bit about this year's Buddy Walk. All this drama and stuff with the state. Let's have some fun too, right?
All right, yeah, so I'm just gonna talk more about fun stuff, spring, as I told John, sprinkling the happy. I don't know, I think Michelle might still be on, so she might.
I am. I'm
Okay.
here.
I'm like, I think she's still here, I think, so she might have more to add. Michelle, please feel free to jump in at any time. But everybody here is invited to Buddy Walk. If you haven't seen or heard, the Buddy Walk this year is September 16th. Northside Park. We're doing it a little bit early this year. Last year we ran into homecomings and weddings and lots of other things. So also the Breeze Optimist Club is moving their fall festival. They made theirs, I believe, a little later. So we wanted to jump in front of them and still leave a week between the two. So that's why the change. We're hoping that it works out. We're hoping that it's nice weather. And if you haven't seen or heard yet, it is superhero themed this year. You'll see soon that John, I always mess up his last name, right? Ricker is our face of the Buddy Walk this year. So you'll see him pretty soon in a bunch of flyers and whatnot. So he was really excited when we asked him. He's got a cape on. There's little flyers over there. I was part of the forest that we murdered to have all these papers. So sorry about that, but he is on one of those flyers over there. The registration for the Buddy Walk is going to begin on June 1st. So it's a week from Thursday. We would really like everyone to sign up a little early this year, just because we're doing an early bird registration. So we'd like to get registration numbers up earlier. Early bird registration is $15 a person, still includes the shirt as normal. And that's going to be through July 21st. After July 22nd, registration is $20 a person. And that is participant at community link, that is online, that is on paper, that is any registration. So if you register before July 21st, you will be getting $15 for your registration, no matter how you do it, or who you are. And if you register after, so July 22nd, all the way to the Buddy Walk, you will be getting $20 for registration. To be guaranteed a t-shirt, please register by August 25th. So to make sure you're one of those. Whoop. Thought I heard Michelle. Okay. So this year our fundraising goal is $125,000. We hope that all of you and your families and friends can attend. If you are going to make a team, I know there's a couple people in here who have made teams in the past or teams last year. If you're going to make a team, and you're going to be the team captain, or your brother, sister, niece, nephew, whoever is the team captain, we're going to have a team captains meeting with free Dairy King ice cream on June 13th at 6:30 at Northside Park, that main pavilion where Kathy is every year at Buddy Walk. I'm doing registration, so I will be there, Michelle will be there, and it's just talking about being a team captain and getting excited for the day and all that kind of stuff. So please join us if you're considering being a team captain or having your own team. And if you would like to volunteer for anything at the Buddy Walk, since I'm here a lot earlier this year, last year, I think most people here know, I jumped in like 3 weeks before the Buddy Walk. But since I am here this year and ready to go, we're starting to get volunteers already kind of lined up. Let me know maybe what you're interested in, or what times you can work, different kind of things. We're going to get the signups for that open on June 1st as well. So we're just moving a little bit or a lot earlier with the volunteer side of that than we were last year. So I, just so you know too, I am the main contact for team captains this year. I don't think I made that clear earlier. So I am the main contact. Michelle will be doing more fundraising and sponsorships, and I will be doing all things with teams and team captains, and volunteers. So, I think that's about it for Buddy Walk. If you're interested in volunteering, let me know. Again, big dates are June 13th for team captains meeting, 6:30 p.m. And then June 1st is first day of registration. So the website will be live and it'll be on Facebook. You'll get an email about it. You'll hear a lot about it that day, I'm sure, from me. So
Katie, what is your email?
yeah, it's Katie, KATIE, @Conley.org.
Conley,
COMMLINK.org.
Conley.
Yep.
Sorry. Also, if they can't attend, they could donate to the baffled and silent auction.
Yes, yes, you can. And Mary's our girl, who loves to do silent auction, so you'll probably be getting with her to tell her what you want to donate. So
Please don't.
please donate, yes. All right, any other questions for me? Thanks, guys.
Okay, I just wanted to update everyone a little bit on the medication renewals. So for, if your loved one lives in Arcilla, you don't have to worry about this, right? Because I assume we're gonna still take care of it. We did pre-COVID. So before COVID, the Medicaid renewals would come to your house. If you have a person that lives at home, you fill it out, send it back, and then their Medicaid services will continue as normal. When COVID happened, they decided to just have it automatically renewed. So you didn't have to do it. Well, it's going back to the way it was before. So I sent an email out. If you guys did not receive it, you're not on my email list. So please give me your email so I can let you know. But they're starting for the renewals that are in July. It's a rolling year, so they're not all going to be renewed in July. There's a website that I sent out on the email that you can check to see when your renewals are coming up to due. I encourage everyone to go on this website and make sure your mailing address is okay, is correct, contacts are correct, because if these are not completed correctly or in a timely manner, Medicaid benefits will lapse. Meaning, we won't get paid for services, meaning your personal support workers won't get paid for services supports they provide. So it's kind of a big deal. I have samples here of what the forms look like. If you want to know what they look like coming from the state, I can do that. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or your manager. But it's just kind of going back to where it was.
Did you say there was a list that would say whether we're due? Because I've been watching the mail and thinking, oh my gosh, what if I did this and oh, is there a list where I can check if when's Jimmy due?
There's a website that you can,
Website.
yeah, I can give it to you. And a phone number you can call.
I think I got that information, but that if he's due, his name would be on there.
No, you go on there to see when his renewal is
Oh,
due.
when is renewal?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And over a whole year, they're gonna send out whenever they're up. And
Or is it typical that it's about a 2-month window they send ahead of time? So if the renewal date is August 1st, they probably mail us.
May 1st, they sent out the ones that are due in July. So they're actually due middle of June. I sent the mail notes and all that, but please reach out with any questions.
And you said that you take care of the.
Scylla, our Scylla does. Yes, the team leaders and the Hughes take care of that. So no need to worry about that. Sorry for teasing people on email that live in our Scylla. Good.
I'll just follow up. If you do have someone in Acilla, if you happen to get a piece of mail that you should, please notify Christy Johnson immediately. So I can only think of a family that's on right now on Zoom that might happen to, but otherwise we should be all good. And they just happen to be our newest admission. So we're still in the process of getting things kind of changed. Trying to keep you guys up to date with a lot of the changes with team leaders and program managers is kind of, yes, been kind of the thing right now going on in the Scilla world. Program managers, we're at that's our cues, pretty, I don't know when we had our last meeting, but don't think we've had any changes in regards to who the queues are. So we've got a gentleman by the name of Thomas Sims. He is the queue for Aviston 555 in Germantown. Still in the training process, actually. Our program manager should be getting their queue certifications within the next month, so that's exciting. And then we have Jessica Henry, who is serving as the program manager for Trenton 1, Trenton 2. She's also serving as the team leader for Trenton 2 right now. So we have had some changes. I try to email you guys. I don't know. I don't see who's all on that email list that Christy has. I just send stuff to Christy and tell Christy to send it out to you guys. But really just trying to do our best to keep the communication going with you guys with that kind of stuff. Do not hesitate to ask questions or send an email back to us, okay? Especially me. If there's ever things that we need to explain more, please let us know. So that's really, I'm gonna knock on wood. Nothing too crazy going on in the Sillas right now. The big thing is we're doing our barbecue on June 10th. So we're gonna have this out at St. Rose Park. You guys should have gotten invitations for that. Treating it very much like our Christmas party. Our team leader has expressed an interest and the participants expressed an interest on wanting to do something in the summertime and not just always do something at winter. So we've got that going. So that'll be kind of a fun day. So please join us there. So the guys are, everybody's excited. The staff are excited. The participants are excited. I'm excited because I used to do this all the time. So please join us for that. Does anyone have any questions for me with anything going on in the facility? You guys at this point need what clarification?
Openings are rolling over.
We still have some PSP openings.
No, I mean, not these.
I'm sorry. So I'm so used to talking about staff.
Yeah.
We have one opening, but we have someone on the waiting list. So, which actually is someone that is currently receiving services through our day program. And so taking to family if we can. Yeah. So
I will tell you, I get requests from people up in Chicago and
We-
Cook County asking if they could come here. They said, who do I contact to get in there? I said, I don't think you can. Because they're happy to hear what good
yeah.
services you provide.
I have to say, I mean, it is, yes, we do pride ourselves on our good services. And it is amazing. I probably get, Lori can speak to this because she gets them all the time, and Eric's on here. We get probably every day on average, like 2 to 3 referrals. So it's pretty amazing.
Do you think the program, the SIL program will grow?
We really,
It sounds like there's
our
a need.
operational plan right now is really looking at taking care of the people we have, with the staffing resources we have. It would be something I would love to do because I think we have a great SILA program. I would love to expand it, but at this time, we just think that it's practical to make sure that the staffing stuff is that's where we're at right now. Okay. Paul?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say right now. Myself and Brian have been busy. We've implemented a new payroll system, and that's kind of what we've been doing pay last week. So if anybody has loved ones that is not being direct deposit at this point in time, now is an optimal time to get direct deposit. Because it really saves a lot of headaches. But other than that, talking like that, we're in good financial shape. Always do report back.
The last item before we get out of here is I just wanted to plant the seed. You guys will have in our interactions my email, but I wanted to put your thinking caps on. We are under a with the advent of the home and community-based rule setting changes and all the system changes we're doing. We thought it was a good time to kick the tires on looking at our what we call our OMS system. OMS stands for Outcome Measurement Systems. And it's something it's a CARF survey recommended thing that we've always had, but I don't think we've ever had it to where we got the full purpose of it. We started just tracking data to track data, and we realized that that wasn't the right way to go. And with all the new exciting things that we have coming with community inclusion and with some of our programs we did, we wanted to make sure that we're measuring the right things. And we wanted to make sure that we're starting off with a new system. So we're trying to develop something to roll out starting July 1st. But right now, just asking all of you, and you don't have to come up with it right now if you have something off the top of your head, but just things as a family member, as a stakeholder at Community Link, what are some important things that you would like us to track to see what that looks like? Community outings, the number we do a month, that's one of the things we have, like how are they doing collectively? If this is like a report card for the agency, we're the ones keeping the data, and we're sharing that data with our stakeholders. And so we just are looking for different ideas of when you really think of Community Link and you say, I wonder how they're doing there. What's some of that stuff? And we would take that in consideration and making sure that we're able to measure it. Is it something we can track? How can we do that? And then B, how can we deliver that out to you guys on a routine basis and what that looks like? 'Cause right now, we have it to where we keep information on our current system all year round. Some of the stuff we're tracking is very, very good, and we're gonna keep doing that, but some things just doesn't make sense anymore. So what we do is we have every 6 months, the board has a committee called Performance and Oversight, and we have a meeting to kind of see where we're at the middle of the year, how we're doing with measuring up to the things that we said we were gonna do. And then at the end of the year, we have a collective one that kind of closes out that year. And that's the process we're going to continue to take. However, we're really looking at the things that we're trying to measure. One other piece of information I want to share with you, if I haven't, is that for those of you that are aware, back in 1999, Community Link partnered with the United Way of Greater St. Louis and had that partnership for the better part of 20 years plus, where we were basically in a partnership with them where they funded agencies like Community Link and gave us X amount of money of certainty of funding every year. They asked us of those outcomes we had to show with them every year. They would have a group of volunteers that would come out. Some of them might be a president of a bank, somebody that the United Way put together, and we'd come out and have to show them a presentation of how their money was spent over the last year, and that's how the process went. In 2020, it was a slow moving process, but in 2020, they changed their entire paradigm where they had less organizations involved, but they basically gave more funding, and they made it what they called like a 3-year contract. So instead of a lifetime membership, they basically said, we're going to pick you, and they based this on a community needs study, which surprisingly Community Link fell short on, not on our services or anything we did, but just where the scope where they rated that in Clinton County, probably because we're too good of an organization. They said, oh, they're doing fine. But that being said, we didn't make the cut at that time. Now, they did say, I called it the guilty grant, but they did give us half of our funding for the last few years they called it a transition grant, transition to what I don't know, but they gave us money and I gladly accepted it, and that's the way it's been going. But we were invited to apply for that 3-year membership. We submitted our application within the proper scope, asked for X amount of money to be delivered over consistently a 3-year period. And a lot of it was to build some employment programs and things, some positions there for the new paradigm, which will continue forward no matter what the outcome of all this is. But anyway, so it's exciting news. We will find out in the month of June whether we qualify based on the grant submission that we did. If we didn't make it, it ends there and we move on. But if we did make it, then we have to wait 6 months for them to tell us how much we're getting out of what we asked for. And so that's what we're excited about. None of that we're baking into the budget until you see the whites of the eyes. But at this point, it is an exciting opportunity because of the size of the organization. We will have to ask for a lot more money than we used to get. We've grown over the last few years, so it's been positive. Any questions on any of those topics? We held you hostage long enough tonight. We've got a lot of different snacks back there. Please take advantage of it. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for giving us your time on Zoom. And like I said, we're going to record this and make sure that we get that out to our stakeholders. So thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.